What the fuck? Hold on. I think a lot of OPGG stuff can be helped by me going over this chart really quick, okay? So, a lot of people are building Death Cap indiscriminately, and let's talk about when to build Death Cap. All right. So Death Cap is something you build when you don't need any other items in particular and you have a decent amount of gold. All right. So that means like your team is doing well, you just want to do damage. That's it. You build Death Cap. And Death Cap is a good go-to item because it's just a lot of damage. Oh, well, if they found the gun, then that's not an issue, Leaf. The issue is when the guy has the gun. Usually that's the worst part. Which state do you live in? Maybe it's normal. Okay, I'm gone. You don't have to leave. I believe you, man. Don't worry. Spellbinder should be right here with Death Cap. Spellbinder is just a cheap Death Cap. So I just didn't update it, Mad Hand 6. Because I made this chart before Spellbinder came out. Okay? Maybe it's normal. It's a joke. It's a joke. Leave. You know how in Texas sometimes like people just have guns all the time. What about Protobelt? Protobelt is decent against high mobility people, but okay. So here's the thing. Okay. Here's how you decide how to build. All right, and I'm on the verge of death here. Well, Leaf, let me tell you this. It's highly unlikely that you will die in particular, even if there is an armed combatant at your school, because normally they'll only kill like a couple of people, and there's usually a whole lot of people in a school, so your chances are pretty good. Try to maximize them by hiding under a desk, though. That's 100% your best bet here. And as far as comfort goes, I don't really know how to comfort people. I just try to give you the best advice I can, and then that's all I could do. Oh god, it's like flying in airplanes, you know. Try to be like classmates. Oh god, that's terrible. According to my last ranking. Very practical, I try. Alright. Hold on. Memes aside, memes and terrible life situations aside, let me drop some knowledge on you guys. This is how I did. No, Fran Darrow, I did this chart. This is my chart, motherfucker. I am the creator of it. You saw it on Reddit, so maybe you thought that it was something I found, but this is me. Should have put by sunset in the bottom right. Jesus Christ, people coming to my fucking channel trying to steal my stuff. Alright. Thanks, dude. Okay, so here's how you decide which item to build, alright? And I'm gonna blow your fucking minds out right now. You always try to build Runic Echoes and Sork Shoes. Alright. You always try to build Runic Echoes and Sork Shoes. After you build Runic Echoes, it 100%, your build highly depends on how much money you have left over. Don't ban Leaf. Don't ban yourself, dude. You're good. It all depends on how much money you have left over, right? If you have enough money for a needlessly large rod, you should probably buy a needlessly large rod and then go into a Death Cap or a Spellbinder. You could totally do Red Smite and Sorks as well. This is more of if you know you're going mobility boots, you should probably go red smite just to even out the damage. That's what this part is supposed to mean. But you can do... I guess I should have added this thing and this thing. I don't know. But... Stream is over? No, stream's not over. What the fuck? What are you... You banned school. So you always go this. Now, there are some times when you have to build a specific item, okay? If the enemy AP like hyper carries are super duper fed, you have to build a Abyssal Mask. You have to, or else they will one-shot you before you one-shot them, okay? If you are facing, and I need to update this. I think there's more champions. I think Zed is actually not an issue in particular, but I think Kayn is pretty good. I think Talon, fuck, I really need to update this. Hold on. Let me save image as and update this shit. There's more stuff that I need to talk about. Actually, okay, I'll talk about it first and then I'll update it, okay? Okay, so you have to build Zhonya's versus things like Rengar, and I'm actually starting to think you have to build a Zhonya's versus Talon and Vladimir as well. I think both Talon and Vladimir are, like, you can't play against them unless you have a Zhonya's. So that's like a thing. And if they build magic resistance, you also have to build a void staff. Water market? Okay. Just capital letters, sunset was taken in the background. Kayn, Rengar, Kayn. But I'm not sure about Kayn because I haven't played against many Kayns. But I think Talon, Vladimir, and Rengar are must-have Zhonya's. And the reason why is because all of those champions, you can play around their damage if you have the Zhonya's, and they can't do anything about that. So Rengar, when he ulties, you stand in front of your team and let him jump on you, and then Zhonya's before his damage goes off, and then he loses a big portion of his damage. Vladimir, what he does is he ulties and he will like maybe Q and then he will W and hold E, right? So if you Zhonya's right as he's about to come out of his W, you're gonna fuck up his Q, his E, and his ultimate damage on you. You prevent the majority of Vladimir's damage that way. And Talon, similarly, as soon as he ulties, you know he's going to try to go in and kill you if you're doing like a 1v1, so you can try to prevent his like extra damage from his Q auto attack after he comes out of his ulti. You just have to do it fast enough. It could be hard against Talon. In the early game, you just have to Zhonya's at least his passive and you won't die, stuff like that. So all of those champions are really important. So Zhonya's Abyssal Mask situationally and Void Staff are these items that you have to buy if the enemy team is appropriate for it. You have to buy them, alright? If the enemy team has magic resistance and you don't buy a Void Staff, you fucked up. If the enemy team has a Rengar, you didn't buy a Zhonya's, you fucked up, okay? So this is just the baseline. This is the stuff that you have to do. Now, on top of that, you have to be gold efficient. That's the next level after the necessities is you have to be gold efficient. That means that if you back with 850 gold, you can't go for a death cap because you don't have enough gold for a needlessly large rod. If you back with 850 gold, you have to buy a blasting wand. If you back with 500 gold, you have to buy an amp tome. This is not negotiable. This is just something that you have to do. Yeah, I could talk about Revolver in a second. Revolver is really like in this space where it's like situational before you build the rest of your items. If you just want more damage at the time, it's a weird item. It clogs up your inventory, and like I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of like you can just build an easily large rod. I don't know. We'll go back to that later. So, you have to be gold efficient. Yes, drugstore, you cannot do that. You can't, if you have 850 gold, you can't just forego taking 40 ability power and wait until later, because you can put that 40 ability power to use in the time being. And chances are, if you're backing with 850 gold, it's going to be a really long time until you get death cap. So it's better to just spend on items that are cheaper and have more impact in the game earlier on and snowball yourself towards having 2 items. If you can buy these correct gold efficient components and then build something good out of them later, you will win more games because you will have more items overall. So if you build a needlessly large rod, if you build a amp tome, or if you build a blasting wand, you have to go for items like void staff, like banshees, like zonias. All of these items are really good items, and yes, they're not death cap. Yes, they're not death cap, but that's fine. It's okay. And if you are restricted to only buying amp tomes, if you're constantly backing with 500 gold and you're forced, is Scorch on Eve good? No. If you're constantly forced to back and buy amp tomes, then you buy things like Revolver, Aetherwisp, Fiendish Codex, and later upgrade them to all of these other items. Fiendish Codex is really good because it builds into a lot of different stuff. But my death cap! Yes, death cap early is good if you have kills. It's a very good snowball item, but K9 Moon, in particular, what we're trying to talk about right now is death cap is particularly good when you can buy the needlessly large rods every time you back. If you have enough gold for needlessly large rods, death cap is a viable option, but you cannot back with 900 gold and then not buy anything, and then back with 1500 gold, buy a needlessly large rod, and that's it, and then back again with like 1100 gold and not buy anything. It's just, you're not being gold efficient, and you're missing out on a lot of damage throughout the game. Okay, you might miss out on kills by greeting and building towards a death cap. You are much better off building components. Now, this is where Spellbinder comes in. Okay, Spellbinder is one of these items that allows you to buy an Aetherwisp and then later buy a needlessly large rod. So that is where Spellbinder comes in. Okay. When you really want to build AP, but you don't have enough gold for a needlessly large rod on your first back after Sork Boots. So that's really what you're thinking about. So the baseline is you're thinking about what items do I absolutely have to buy this game or I lose. And that's going to be your Zonia's Abyssal Mask, Void Staff. In the situations that we described earlier. Those are must-have items against the champions and situations that we talked about. Above that, you want to be gold efficient. So you buy the components that you are able to buy at the time. If you watch my games closely, every time that I back, if I back with 1600 gold or like 1700 gold, I will always buy a needlessly large rod and an amp tome. Every single fucking time. And I don't buy needlessly large rod and then nothing waiting for my next niche. No, I will always buy the amp tome because you can build something with it. All right. And it's more important to be gold efficient than to have this like very rigid specific build. No, we can make use of everything, spend every penny. If the LeBlanc, Katarina, or Rengar, Zed, Vlad suck, if the LeBlanc and Katarina suck, don't build it. I mentioned it. It's only if they are fed that you want this. Against Rengar, you always build Zonias, even if they suck. Okay, because Rengar and Vladimir, they're just too strong because they will engage on somebody, even if it's not you, and they will kill them. So, like, against a Rengar, the reason that Zhonya's is so good is it allows you to, when Rengar ultimates, what you do is you put your team behind you, you step in front, and you're like, come at me, bro. Come at me. Fight me. You're in your ultimate. I'm ready. I'm ready for you. I have Zhonya's. I don't give a fuck. Come here. You know? And then, yesterday, if you guys were watching, I played against a lot of Rengars yesterday. Rengar would ultimate, and I would run at him. I would literally run at him, and Rengar would have to run away from me because I have a Zhonya's. So it's like, it's this item, Zhonya's is this item that is actually a win condition against Rengar because it lets you protect your team, it lets you fight him on your terms, and it's just fantastic. Fantastic, okay? You're actually really helpful and informative. I've watched before when hosted and noticed your stream name, so figure I'd watch again. K9 Moon, I got you, man. I'm glad that you're enjoying. Damn, I needed to hear that. I save gold constantly. Don't do it, dude. What about Nocturne? Nocturne, I don't think is that big of an issue because he can't see you most of the time. So even if he uses his paranoia, whatever the fuck it's called, I don't think he'll be able to ult you. I don't know. Nocturne is a little bit weirder than Rengar because Rengar can see you in your ultimate. That's why it's so needed. But it would be okay against Nocturne. It's just that, you know, if he ultis one of your friends and you Zhonya's, that's not gonna really do much. With Rengar specifically, you can force Rengar to go in on you. Can you link the Imgur link? Yes. Yes. Here you go. ZH is good versus Nocturne. He's targeting you a lot. Zhonya's is good versus not. If he's if he's targeting you, then sure, yeah. Exactly. He should be targeting. Thanks, Matt N6. All right. So there's that. We talked about most things here. The only thing that we didn't really talk about is like if you're stacking a lot of Dark Seal stacks and the enemy team doesn't have like people that can kill you in the mid to late game. This is funny. You can also build Magi's into Lichbane. That's also a really good thing that's not shown here. And is there anything more I should talk about? Not really. I think we're okay here. I think as far as builds go, our talk that we just had here is gonna be pretty good. Oh yeah. Hex deck items. That's the one thing I didn't talk about. Yeah, hex deck items. So Revolver is a really nice item for Evelynn. It does a lot of damage. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Revolver right now. Revolver is a really nice item for Evelynn. It does a lot of damage, but the drawback is that it clogs up your inventory. And the reason why I say that it clogs up your inventory is the only two things you can build out of Revolver are Protobelt and GLP. And basically, I think that Protobelt is a waste unless you can actually use the active to kill people. If the active is the difference between killing somebody and not killing them, then Protobelt is really good. So enemies that you're going to use Protobelt against are going to be things like Ezreal, perhaps things like Lucian. You can't build Gunblade. You cannot build Gunblade K9 Moon. It's not a viable item on Evelynn. Trust me, it's too expensive. So like ADCs that have really quick blinks, you can use a Protobelt against those guys very effectively. Everybody else, Protobelt is just not the best because one, as an item, it does not do the most damage. Okay, well, let's just get that down. Protobelt does not do more damage than, say, a Spellbinder. All right. Like, it gives you health, but health isn't really that premium of a stat on Evelynn. What you really want for stats on Evelynn is movement speed, cooldown reduction, and ability power. Those are the best stats on Evelynn. I'm facing Lucian and LeBlanc right now in Champ Select. Would Proto be good this game and Jax? Yeah, Proto Belt might be very good that game. Like, versus a Jax, Proto Belt might be good for getting away from his stun. Although you should be fighting Jax with your charm to avoid his stun. But Lucian and LeBlanc, you might be able to catch up to them. I don't know about LeBlanc, but Lucian for sure. You could try it out for at the very least. The only thing I'm gonna warn you about is if this is the first time you're building Protobelt, you might forget to use it a lot. If you're forgetting to use Protobelt, it's actually really bad. Now, so that's the first GLP item. Sorry, spoiler alert. That's the first Hextech item. Now let's talk about GLP. GLP is kind of the reason that GLP is a viable item on Evelynn is because it has 20% cooldown reduction. Basically, GLP is similar to Protobelt in that it does not do the most damage. You can build a Spellbinder and do more damage. GLP also gives you mana, which is a terrible stat. We don't want mana on Evelynn. And damage-wise, it's just okay. Alright. But and like the active on it, honestly, is kind of subpar. I don't know if you guys have used the active. It doesn't wave clear like Protobelt does. And it's just kind of like, whatever. I just use it because sometimes it could be a little bit useful. But it's very lackluster. But the thing that really shines is the 20% cooldown reduction. And the time, so you have this choice, right? In some of your games, you can have this choice of, do I build more damage or do I build 20% cheap cooldown reduction? And I think the time that the cooldown reduction is correct is specifically in the early levels, level 10, 11, 12, 13, if your team is behind and you're getting your towers pushed, right? So normally, Evelynn feels like she can't do anything against a team that in the early mid game groups together and pushes towers. And I'm sure you guys have been in similar situations. Okay, the enemy team is ahead, they group, they push. So what GLP lets you do is it lets you ultimate them every time that they group up and try to push your tower. Every time they group up and try to push your tower, you get an ultimate on them because your ultimate is like 80-second cooldown or something like that. Dude, stop talking and play. Alright, I'll get to playing. Shit, man. I was just